definition that everybody will quote. And the basic definition, if you look at the screen, it says pretty simple. It will represent the simulation of the human intelligence. You are going to use the machines to act as a human. That's what it is. So when we will go down into the components of AI, you will see that we are more or less referencing the anatomy of the human brain, how those things work, and that's the base of the artificial intelligence here as well. So computer systems will simulate the human intelligence, enabling them to perform tasks that usually requires human intelligence to be performed. You might have seen certain YouTube videos where you might have seen the robotic dogs. The humans are actually pushing them and they are rebalancing themselves. You might have seen some other form of AI. All of them are either your vision, your neural networks, your mechanical movements. So those are all that humans can do. That's what the AI is trying to do. How many types of AI do we know? There are basically three phases or three forms of AI, three types of AI. The first is the narrow AI, that all of us know. Google search is one of the AI, because that's where you already know the result, right? Alexa, Siri, why they are called AI is because they have the outcome already known. The outcome is already known. You're asking, hey Siri, what time is it? The time is already known, everything is already known. Siri is giving you the outcome that is already with, right? So narrow AI is where the result, the outcome is already understood and known, and you are basically just presenting the data back to the user saying, okay, this is what it is. You look at Google searches, the Netflix recommendation, that is also the AI, the narrow AI, right? Because what it is doing, it is looking at what you have watched. Based on that, it already knows what your interests are and how those interests are, because it has tagged those videos with certain categories, like horror, action, comedy, and they already know that you have watched like last 10 movies, comedy movies, so most likely you will like the next comedy movie as well. So recommendation will have also comedy movies. If you go towards like an enterprise, right? So fraud detection system, it's a form of a narrow AI. It is basically seeing your patterns, how you basically do your transactions. Based on that, it is predicting, okay, the next thing that you are doing, this is out of the pattern. That's why it is marking it as a fraud. So in some cases, you might have done something which you usually do not do. So you end up calling the bank saying, hey, this is the legitimate transaction. So basically, let it pass through. What you say, no, this is fraud. So they perform. Healthcare has the biggest AI implementation right now going on. So AI is reading the X-rays is one of those forms. There is a product where the people with the heart devices, like pacemakers and stuff, they usually go through MRI. So some of those devices might not be MRI ready because they need to be unplugged when you're going through the MRI. So there are implementation out there where AI is basically making sure that, okay, based on the previous things, this is the time where there might be some upgrade to those devices, which usually happen over the Wi-Fi. So that might be the time where the device will be turned off and you can basically go through the MRI. So that is one of the things that is recently going on. And then of course Teslas, the autopilots, right? So this is something that you call as a narrow AI. Fast forward to the next one, Gen AI. Everybody is calling this is one of the biggest buzzwords, Gen AI. Okay, what does Gen AI do? It's a general AI. It's a general category. You can throw anything in it. You worked on videos. You have seen your photos. Everybody's using those AIs to basically come up with different photos and stuff. Pretty straightforward. On the front, but on the back, it's all data. Right? Think about all these warehouse robots that we talk about. If you have seen the videos from Tesla, robot basically ironing the clothes, that is a Gen AI as well. Auto corrections, Grammarly, one of the major players out there, right? So this is all Gen AI. It's not just the photos and the videos. Anything that is right now happening is kind of like under the umbrella of Gen AI. And the last one is super intelligence, which will be not the end goal, but the next phase, where it will be completely autonomous, doing everything by itself, generating its own idea, and working on it. the if you look at the productivity or where we are now and where we will be with the super intelligence, nobody can predict how much time will it take. But based on the advancement that we are seeing, I was reading one of the articles and it was saying that this decade you will see some form of the super intelligence already in the market. What form that will be, only future. But that's where we are. And what is the importance of AI? Well, it's making the human life easier so that human can concentrate on more productivity. That's the goal. Innovative solutions, decision making that humans do. We are basically putting that decision making to AI, and we are basically we are hoping that AI will take over all these things so that human will work on more productive and more focused work. Any questions? All right. So core concepts: machine learning, deep learning, vision, and NLP. Machine learning, one of the core ideas. When you are a developer, you basically code everything, right? You code, you program, and then that program does everything. Machine learning is basically analyzing data and making predictions without explicit programming. That's what you are doing. Computer learns from the patterns from data. You create a model, you provide examples, and that model itself that you have created through machine learning improves over time by correcting itself. That's what the machine learning is. There are basically three different types of machine learning: supervised, unsupervised. Thank you. And which one is the third one?
Supervised, unsupervised, or
RL, reinforcement learning. Right. Right. So what is the supervised one? Where you can basically categorize the data. You can basically say, for example, you have like an animal, you can put it in a basket, like a cat will go in the animal basket, okay, car will go in the automotive basket. So it's a pretty standard way of coming up with this. You identify a device, you identify a thing, and you basically put it in the category. It is as simple as it. But it can only work with the finite amount of data. You cannot basically pick up everything and you put it in the supervised learning. The unsupervised learning is where you work with petabytes of data, where you basically use different categories. You tag that item through different categories. That's how you basically create the unsupervised form of data. You basically find the pattern and you label them. For example, if you were talking about more generic one, a fish and a cat both can live in like an animal kind of a world. That's where you are not basically specifying, finding thing and putting it in its own basket. You are tagging everything together, same patterns, so that you are making same form of data. What it can be, how AI knows about the stochastic process. So probability, right? We know about this thing. It is basically one or two. It works up to like 2 factors, right? But when you are talking about stochastic process, it can be n number of factors. So you do not know how many values you get. For example, if you are talking about cards, you already know, or let's say you are talking about a coin, you already know it will have either heads or tails. But if you are talking about a signal that is coming through, you do not know how many ups or downs will that signal have. So how to calculate how much values you will get in a signal, that's where stochastic process comes in. And a stochastic process is more or less in the undercover of the unsupervised, because you do not know how many patterns there can be for data. So you basically tag them together, you group them together, and then that's what the raw data that you work with. That's what you use to train your models and to structure them. And then of course the reinforced learning is where your model is learning from its own mistakes. The supervised is the one where you will see more mathematics coming into the pictures. You have these functions and stuff that you will use to come up with the supervised data. But when you are looking at the unsupervised one, that's where you are working with more grouping the data together, creating multiple clusters with the same kind of pattern, and then dumping the data in that. Any questions? Anything? So the next step is the deep learning. The main thing behind today's innovation. Deep learning and machine learning, somebody might end up using like a synonyms, when in its reality it's not. Deep learning is a part of machine learning, it's not a machine learning. So neural networks, how does the brain works? There is one very famous example that is being quoted over the YouTube as well from multiple people to explain how the neural network works. Neural networks, how the brain works, right? So I'll give you an example that because that's one of the most common and easy. So you have three guys, right? You have a board over there. Okay, I'll make it. Let's just start. So you have three guys, right? You have A, B, and C. And they have not seen an animal, let's say they have not seen a cat in their life. What you do, you want to train them on it. So you basically give the head of the cat to the picture of a head of the cat to one person and say, okay, this is how they had it. And you don't show him this thing, you just give him the category of it. Okay, it's got 2 eyes, this is how it looks like. You just give them category to that A person. The person B, you just give the torso details to that person. Okay, this is how the cat body looks like. The third person, you basically give the details of the leg. So then A, B, and C has got 2 persons to go. Let's call them D and F, right? So you give them the picture and ask them, okay, is this a cat? Based on the data that they have, they will say, yes, it's a cat. Yes, it's a cat. Yes, it's a cat. They go to the next person. They provide their data to them. So D and E will take the data from A, B, and C. Okay, this is the data that we got. They will take it to the team lead, let's call it Z. Say, okay, A, B, and C came up with this data, and we believe this is cat. Now think about it, it was not a cat, it was a lion. So the Z will say, it's not a cat, it's a lion picture that I gave. So the middle two, D and E, will take that information back to A, B, and C and say, hey, the data that you gave was not cat, it was actually the lion. Now this is the reinforced learning, where they will say, okay, now we have some information about, we called this thing a cat, but it was not a cat because they had this mutual characters, but then these 2 extra characters that I am seeing, these were not with me, so I will mark them down and make sure that next time I get a picture, I call saying, okay, this was not a cat, it was a lion. So it's the same way neural networks works, and that's what is causing the processing of the largest chunk of data. Right now, if you look at how these things are working, I would recommend you to go through there is a session, and I'll send that link to you. This guy name is Chow. He is in MIT courses. He's on Coursera actually. Go through his sessions. They are free and available on YouTube. It will give you a more detailed insight of how the neural networks work. So it's a branch of machine learning that uses multi-layer neural networks to learn complex patterns, right? So that's the deep learning. What are the common neural network types? Types of neural networks. Basically, there is a CNN and RNN. So RNN is recurrent neural network, where you see this speech recognition, where you see these forecasting, these chat models. The chat GPT is also using that. So those things, and then the CNN is like the use for the Face ID that your phone has, the X-rays and stuff. Those are using the CNN ones. So yeah, now let's talk about the computer vision, interpret visual data for decision making. These access cards, access badges, those are all using that. I think it is all using all these cameras. All these security cameras have those artificial intelligence embedded into it. That is what is using the computer networks, the computer vision. It goes through all the data and identifies the anomalies, and that's how it is doing error detection. One of the project that was done back in 2003 by IBMS was to basically identify a difference in the 2 photos. That guy is now in US, and I believe he is working for one of these AI startups. So yeah, and then The last one is computer, the natural language processing. It's reads, understand your text. You might have seen one of the videos where the summarization was happening of petabytes of data, and it took like maybe like few. I'll send you those link as well. That basically took like a couple of minutes to go through the petabyte data and translate all of them. So that thing is using the natural languages processing. It's speech to text. It's chat and QA, chatbots. Everything come under the NLPs. Examples you already know. If you're using Google, it's Gemini. If you're using ChatGPT, or if you're using WhatsApp voice recognition and stuff, those things all are using the NLPs. So these are the core components for the AI. Any questions? Anything that you want me to go through again? No problem, I can definitely do that.
They have been cooking some questions, I'm sure.
Go ahead. Right. Applications. Tesla, biggest one in the automotive industry. Healthcare, you see a lot of AI work happening. All these big cloud providers, be it Azure, be it AWS, be it Google, they are providing these cognitive services for machine translation, for computer visions, for NLPs. The primary core reason for providing that service is because you do not have to build anything from scratch anymore. There are already models available. You can pick those models up and you can basically use those models for your own custom usage. For example, let's talk about a translator model that Azure is providing. A standard translator model, no difference. If you download Microsoft Translator app on your phone, it's the same model that is being offered in Azure Cloud. Now, how will you make it custom? You take that model, you come up with your own set of requirements. For example, if you're dealing with the medical industry, you're dealing with a lot of restrictions, a lot of compliance. One of those compliances, I believe you might have heard about ISO 9001 compliance. That's one of the compliance, right? The same way there are extra compliances when it comes to medical industry. For example, HIPAA is one of the biggest one, which is to secure the patient information so that nobody gets that information. When you go to Europe, it is a GDPR that they are using. So those compliances. So now if you have these type of requirements, you get a standard model, you train that model. And that training is also kind of like a clicks, but at least you will have to go through certain testings and stuff to make sure that it is fully compliant. But yeah, you train that model on your custom language, you train that model of your custom documents and requirements and all the bylaws to make sure that it understands what the model should or should not do. And that is the time when you basically start using it for your own purpose. So medical industry is using that machine translation for themselves. What that thing is doing, because think about it, if that company is in more than one countries and they speak different languages, now when you are using that model, it needs to translate that model from language A to language B. So that's where they want to make sure that whatever that model is doing, at the end of the day, that model is following all the laws that has been implemented by the organization. So that's one of the use cases. But then if you look at the operational efficiency, right? So all this data, because think about it, the heart rate monitor that a pacemaker that a person has, it is basically uploading data every night, every 12 hours, or whatever the frequency that company or the vendor has to the servers. Now you have tons and tons of data, right? Now AI is going through that data to see the anomalies, to understand, okay, at what point in time there is different data that it is getting. And that's the point where it is helping the clinicians, the doctors, to see what that person is doing at X point in time where there was a difference in the data that you were getting. So AI is helping, definitely helping, and healthcare is one of the biggest users of AI. Finance, fraud detection also. Finance, fraud detection, automated stock trading, the bots, you name it. Finance is also basically doing a lot of things in the AI landscape. Transportation, Tesla is their BYD, I believe also one of those, where they have got some AI implementation as well. California has the automation, a lot of automation where now Amazon is using the automated cars to deliver stuff to people. The autonomous cabs is in a couple of states in the US, so things are happening. And then yes, retail, go to Amazon, go to any retailer web app and it already knows your habits, what you usually search for. You talk something, you search something on your Facebook, or you find and you talk to somebody and you go to your Facebook and you see a suggestion that, oh, you can buy this thing as well. So these type of things are there. Right? So yeah, these are all the applications. It may range from narrow to gen right now. Some of these use cases, the application that we talk about may be narrow. Some of them will be definitely gen. Transportation and finance definitely gen. The healthcare right now is more narrow because that's where they need to rely on data more rather than having like a wide range of data. So yeah, these are the applications of the AI and then challenges of the AI. Who have heard the Axis chatbot becoming racist? You heard about that news? It was released and then people basically fed it data where it became racist and it started throwing racist lines. So it's real. If you don't control AI, it can do anything. So it can be biased, it can be fair. You need to make sure how you are training that model. You need to make sure to keep a check on it. Data privacy is another issue. We just talked about one of the use cases where you have these laws, you have all these certifications, you have compliances to basically follow. So that's one of the key things because think about it, when you are trying to train a model and if it's a public model, your data is now public. All of us, I believe, use Facebook. That data is private to Facebook right now, but it is basically, or it may be used for some way or form of training models right now. So that data privacy is a key thing. Accountability, making sure that AI is accountable. It has all the ethical dilemmas in it. Making sure that it is ethical, it understands that there are repercussions to all the things that has been said and stuff. So there are AI ethical trainings going on right now to make sure that the users understand how these things is and they are training their models, they are following those guidelines and guardrails to make sure that they have everything in place. And then of course there is a job displacement concern that we talked about as well. It's real, but think about it. Landscape will change. It's here to change the landscape. There is no doubt about it. But it always happened with the new technology, with the new innovation. This has happened always. So what are the examples that I've been giving is of the trains. Back in the days when the trains were the new technology, people used to basically use axes and shovels to basically make the path, and they used to basically make a path in the mountains by breaking those big stones, and then the technology came in and now they have a machine making that whole, and people even at that time were concerned about their jobs as well because there were hundreds and thousands of people doing this thing and now they have a machine doing this thing. And back in, I see young faces, I don't think that you might have seen it, but back in 1980s, late 80s, early 90s, there was a movie on it where there was a guy in US when this machine was introduced, and that guy says, hey, I can break those stones more faster than this machine, and he actually tries to do that thing. So yeah, they had the same fear. But with this new technology, when this new machine came in and they were able to make this big hole and the railway station became mature, there were new jobs that came into the picture. So, and it happened always. It's not a new fear that we have. So AI will also change the landscape. But what we need to understand is we should be open to embrace that change and see how we can leverage AI to not only help the IT, but also to pivot and change our course in the field of IT as well. Because Future continued advancements, there will be more integrations across the industries. One of the things that is big right now is the human AI integration, because without the data, the AI itself is limited. So that integration is the key over here. And then of course the ethical AI development, making sure that AI is capable, AI is powerful, and then AI is fully compliant with all the ethics standards that have been put in place. Any questions?
सर इसमें ना आपने बात की थी डेटा प्राइवेसी की, तो कोई मेयर्स हैं कि जिसकी बेस पे मतलब इसको कंट्रोल किया जा सके? एक तो आपने बता दिया कि एथिकल ट्रेनिंग्स होती हैं, बट उसके अलावा भी ऐसे मेयर्स हैं कि जिसकी बेस पे इसको कंट्रोल किया जा सके डेटा प्राइवेसी?
डेटा प्राइवेसी को तो कंट्रोल करना डिपेंड करता है ना आपका यूज केस के ऊपर. I'll give you another example of this thing. So let's talk about one of there is a medical company. Okay, they are basically coming up with some custom model. Now, if they implement that custom model in cloud, or they implement it with themselves, which is building it from scratch. Number one, the building it from scratch will be slow. Cloud जो दे रहा है, they are offering you GPUs, which are the critical thing for this AI, or the TPUs when it is Google, right? तो वहाँ पे you need to make sure that you are following all the laws by yourself, because cloud will never, cloud gives you a platform. How you secure your data is up to you. So you need to understand and you need to know how you will secure your data. Now, you talk about securing the data, you need to know how the encryption works, how you will encrypt the data in transit, how you will encrypt the data at rest. ठीक है? You need to make sure that you have the very limited access to that data. Only key users who needs to have access should have access to that.
सर ये जिस तरह व्हाट्सएप और फेसबुक के लिखा होता है कि एनक्रिप्टेड आपका डेटा, तो मैं ये पूछना चाह रहा हूँ कि उसमें कोई और कंपनी थर्ड पर्सन भी उसको एक्सेस कर सकता है एक्सेप्ट व्हाट्सएप और फेसबुक?
Depend करता है आपका डेटा स्टोर कहाँ हो रहा है. If it's in the server and you are backing it up, then yes, somebody else will have access to it. Right? लेकिन when they are saying it's end-to-end encryption, that's where they are using the in-transit and at-rest encryption. So that's where it's a game changer. So one of the things that is called is envelope encryption.
लाइक अभी गूगल बनाना AI है जो
Okay?
बनाना है जिसके थ्रू इमेजेस क्रिएट होती हैं,
हाँ.
तो उसमें हम पर्सनल इमेजेस दे रहे हैं तो वो डाटा से
एड्रेस इंक्रिप्शन वहाँ पे होगी. अगर वो आपको ऑफर कर रहा है ना कि भाई ये आई एम प्रोवाइडिंग यू अ सिक्योर्ड प्लेटफॉर्म, ठीक है, तो आपका डेटा एड्रेस इंक्रिप्टेड है. नाउ यू नो देयर आर थिंग्स दैट गेट हैक्ड, राइट? ठीक है, तो देयर इज ऑलवेज अ चांस ऑफ हैक, लेकिन दे आर ऑफरिंग यू दिस थिंग. You know, Apple का phone जिससे यूज किया, you use iClouds, right? It's a very secure location. It got hacked. Hack is always there because somewhere there is a key somewhere. The most secure form is envelope encryption. Envelope encryption क्या करती है कि it's a two-way key, it's a two keys, right? So you have a customer managed key, and then you generate a key. You use that custom managed key to encrypt that key, and then that encrypted key is used to work with all the data. Like, think about it, that generated key is encrypted by a key that is already stored somewhere.
लाइक SSH की सिक्योर शेल की
No, SSH, the key that I'm talking about is like a hexadecimal 16-bit key. Okay, it's a randomly generated number that you're using to encrypt. I'm not sure, in Drupal, you guys have the encryption, you use envelope encryption there as well?
Different types of.
Different type of, right? So yeah, it's the same concept.
Any random.
It's a randomly generated number that you use to encrypt. You have these functions to encrypt, and you just provide the key to it, and it will basically encrypt the data for you. Any other?
Can you please go to the initial slide? The second one is yes. So as a web development agency, and with all of the guys, in fact, our developers, which one of these should we focus on moving forward? And we have been hearing something like AI agency. So can we gradually or kind of transform to AI agency while remaining web development agency as well?
It's a very good question. Depends upon the goal, right? If you talk about, let's talk about what can be implemented here. Right now, it's a lot of things are happening in computer vision and NLP. A lot of things are happening. Deep learning, machine learning, those are more or less something that is being now used. Like ChatGPT has got these transformer that they're using, right? You go to Facebook, they have got their own version of AI, right? So there are models there that you can leverage. But as a software house, you can basically use computer vision or NLP to come up with something that can be used in this environment. Like coming up with products and basically using those products. So yeah, I know with the computer vision and NLP, there is a lot of market right now because it's in the very early stages. You might see all these websites, like you said, Banana AI, right?
Yes.
I think it's a banana.ai.
Yes.
.ai, right? Yeah. So yeah, you see this all .ai. Everything is new in the market. Most of them started coming back in 2021 onwards, like N10, which is right now a very big name in automations. They came up in 2021, but starting 2024, they are now big. So it's a totally fresh market. What can be done with the AI is you need to basically see the disruptive areas, and that's where you will see the value of this.
So using tools like ChatGPT or Claude or something like this, we have the tools already. We don't need to reinvent the wheel.
No. But see, that's one of the things that I'll show it to you. If you talk about automation, if you talk about any new product, right? When it comes to basically using a deep model, you will use a transformer over there or GPT over there. That's where you can basically use Gemini. That's where you can use ChatGPT. That's where you can use Facebook. But you will do the rest by yourself. But the core itself, you already have it. So why not just leverage that thing out rather than building one by yourself?
The general perception among developers actually is that they will have to build something of their own, which is never the case.
No. You need to know what to build and what to use. You cannot reinvent the wheel. ChatGPT was not built in a year. OpenAI is there from last 1 decade. You talk about Facebook. You remember 6 years ago, 7 years ago, there was one of the very big trends on social media. Everybody was uploading their now with picture and 10 years ago picture and saying how different I am. The buzz on the social media was that time was that, well, we are training some AI model with this thing, and that's what it was. Like all this social media stuff, it's open for public, right? It's a public data. So somebody is taking that data and training the models. So you don't need to come up with your own model. You can take the model and you can modify it to do something for you. This is my not laptop. I'm gonna show something. So I don't know. I'll connect it. Unhook it. So who has the ChatGPT's licensed version? Okay, I'll show it to you. So you go to your GPTs. These are all the GPTs that are available right now. So somebody took ChatGPT's GPT, which is their base, and they modified it to do something custom. So look at the writing, look at the productivity. These are all by community builders, see, by some techsky.com, by community builder, by this guy, by that guy. So they are building ChatGPT, they are taking ChatGPT's standard model, they're customizing it to do something custom. And now this is being offered there as well, that okay, this is something that you can use. So if you do this, you can do a start chat, and now you are basically talking to a custom model now, which understands this thing. On the core, it's the same thing. So if I go this way, and I say, this is the custom model, this is the standard model now. Okay? But usually, if you interact with ChatGPT in some questions, it will say this thing, and you say, no, that's not right, and the answer is, yes, you are right. let me change my. But when you are using a GPT, which is custom made, now it has got all that custom stuff and where you can use this. So if you look at it, even Expedia has their own custom built, which is basically the agentic AI that we will talk about. But Expedia is just to find the booking, just to find the trips and plan your trips. So Canva is there, Scholar AI is there. So, and if you look at the trending, AI humanizer, image generator, everything is there.
So from a layman's perspective, because a lot of these guys are just used to using ChatGPT or
Right.
so two same questions, one asked in the
Right.
relevant GPT and
Right.
one asked how would those two differ?
Right. Can you repeat your question?
For example, if I'm asking a question of the ChatGPT raw, and then I'm asking it from some specific GPT. So what would be the quality of answers I will be getting?
Alright. So I'll explain this thing to you and then I'll show you this thing here as well. So how do you make a standard model into custom model? One of the examples that I gave was from a medical industry where you basically feed your custom information to it. You feed your standards to it. You say, okay, this is what we do. This is our PDFs. Go through these PDF. Put that thing in as a standard. So one of the things that I have made to interact with ChatGPT, and I think most of you might have done it as well, is personalization, right? You might have done the same thing, right?
We haven't done, but maybe some of the guys know about personalization.
Yeah, so you personalize that thing. You tell it, okay, this is how you need to go, right? This is what you need to do. I usually write a lot of technical documents because when you're working with architecture, you come up with that thing. So usually my work has a lot of technical documentation as well. So I use ChatGPT a lot to help me there as well. If you don't use, one of my MDs told me that he uses AI shamelessly. Okay, and it's a new world, it's a new era. If you have a tool out there, you need to know how to use that. So that's the first thing. Now, second thing, coming back here, if you go to, let's suppose I saw this thing, so Monday. Yeah. What are the capabilities of this thing? It is an image generation, it's a web search, and it's Canvas. So if you are using Canvas, it understands Canvas completely. It's not a standard model, and it is even the web searches that it will do, it will be more tailored towards the image generation. If you look at anything else, like let's say writing coach, right? This will do the same thing as well. It has got its own capabilities now. The capabilities are what it is being used to make it custom. It understands the rest of the stuff as well, but this is its core competency now. This is what its stronger suit. So what is capability? Canvas is the capability. You have seen for presentation, there are a bunch of AI websites as well, how to make it. What are those AIs? Those are using in the background either ChatGPT or Gemini or one of these known models, right? But what they have done, they took it, they modified it for presentations only, and then that is just used to create the presentations. So that's what makes a custom versus standard model, that you have worked more with it. So how you make it custom? Usually you basically upload your documents to it, provide your documents, which is an upload, and then you basically let AI go through that documentation, let that model go through your documentation and understand that documentation. How many of you have basically asked ChatGPT? Let's talk about ChatGPT here. How many of you have basically uploaded some document to it, a technical document, and say read it out and give me the key points? It's the same concept. The only difference is you are just telling it to read it. I am using that thing to personalize that model to make it custom. Make it your standard, make it your key points, and then use those things.
There used to be a buzzword agent. So are these GPTs agents behind the scenes or
Transformers? But yeah, these are interchangeable words. So in the world of AI, these words are not like hard and fast words. You will see people using different words for different things. But in the core concepts, all of these are actually agents. Okay. You are training a model, so model is what you train. So model is what the ChatGPT has, right? Now you are using an agent to use that model to do something. So you are creating your own agent to do a narrow AI or some kind of automation, and that's where the agents come into the picture. So yeah, and it's even though agentic AI is the new concept. Agents were already being used in the industry before agentic AI became mainstream.
जमाने में खरीद ना था वो मुझे कहता था कि जब तकरीबन 5-6 साल से फरमान कि मामा जी ए इज द कमाउट के खरीद लिया नहीं انت بس اني جسنا نشيل بيه بالذات انا now we are at this stage ना जैसे ما دينا بس तो we are at 3 and 4 only अगर दो बार برمج لنا انا skip مكتمل كم सोच रहा करो
If you, I was talking to you guys. Right now, if you ask what is the future, what is the degree? I'll stop this video for like 5 times. It's a screen capture, right? What is the degree? कौन सी डिग्री हमें करनी चाहिए कि भाई हम आगे चल के अच्छे हो? सबकी फैमिलीज होती हैं. Back in the day, we used to talk about computer science, computer engineering, mathematics is the way to go. The machine learning, deep learning, it's all maths. It's all maths. It's all function. Why Python became successful is because that is in the core of machine learning. So, if somebody asks you what we should do, tell them to become a math PhD. Because if somebody is a math PhD, Facebook, Google, these guys will hire them in a heartbeat. Software engineering, even in US, is now iffy. People who graduated last year, 80% of them are still unemployed in US. So, yeah, computer science, the picture is really muddy right now for IT. So, just let you know. Future, math. I'm telling everybody math. So, but yeah, alright. So, any other questions?
One question. We talked about making custom GPTs or customizing any other AI tool. So is it more about providing custom data to it to train or
Yes.
changing some
Yes.
algorithm?
Yes. It's not changing algorithm. Algorithm stays the same. You are providing it the data. Because you go back to the original definition of it, right? We were talking about the AI, right? So artificial intelligence works on data. It's taking you away from explicit programming. It's not if and else anymore. You have the same algorithms, you are just feeding more data to it to go through it. That's what you are doing. So it's data oriented rather than code oriented. So more data, more powerful the AI is. You might have seen AI, you go up until the point. AI is something that you train a model, right? That model has a final date to it, where you can say, hey, I have data until May of 2021, I don't have data after that. With the chat GPT, T stands for transformers, where it basically reinforced learnings, where it also correct. The transformer has the capability that you put more data to it, it has the capability of sustaining it as well. So by giving it more data, you're also helping them train their new models as well.
One more thing regarding accountability. So it looks like a challenge. So how is it currently dealt with based on government level? So say for example, let's consider X Drupak AI tool. So if it starts something, posting something racial,
They will take it down and they will refresh it. That's what happened. We talked about the X, what is it called? Grok? Grok. What is it? Groot? Group, okay. So yeah, that became racist in first 24 hours. So they had to take it down. Why it became? Because people actually started putting in more data to it to make it racist, and it became racist. So AI has the capability to react on the data on how you're providing it. Pause it again. Yeah, so yeah, this thing happens. You put the data in, whatever you are putting in, that's where the ethics come in. That's where the human interactions come in. You know this parrot thing, right? You take the parrot, you train the parrot, and then you train the parrot, and parrot will say what you are basically trained that parrot for. So it's the same with ChatGPT as well. You train it, and then accountability is on yours end. What you feed is what it is going to work.
So while it's fed by public, so we cannot keep accountable the team or the company behind it.
No, because interaction is making, so it's reinforced learning, right? Think about it. We just talked about 3 different forms of learning. One of them was the reinforced, where you are correcting the model, and that's where it is engaging with other people. So you cannot control what is coming in. There is a certain level of control that you can put in. That is kind of like making sure that you are providing the ban list or the do not do list kind of thing to the ChatGPT, where it is ditching the information that is coming into that piece. But at the end of the day, it's not that straightforward to control. Because think about it, you are using multiple people are communicating with the same model. It's not one source that it is getting data from, it's multiple sources that it is getting information from. So that can change because every person thinks differently.
Writing वाला खबर बता सर तेरी चीज़ क्या लिखा है कुछ writing को करना चाहिए तो बिना आखिर के लिए मस्त निर्देश ज़रा बताओ
अभी 3 months 2 महीने पहले पावरबॉल अगर किसी ने ना सुना हो तो ये यूएस के अंदर एक लॉटरी सिस्टम है। तो लोग जो होते हैं वो $2 में पावरबॉल का टिकट ले लेते हैं, वीक में 3 दफ़ा नंबर निकलता है, लग के किसी ने कितना पैसा जीत दुनिया लेती है। इस ज़माने में पाकिस्तान में भी रेफर टिकट्स को होते हैं। तो जो अभी रिसेंट जिस खातून ने जीता है, she asked ChatGPT for the Powerball number, and Powerball that she claims that the Powerball number that she played was from the ChatGPT, but the Powerball people are saying that it's just a fluke because the probability of one winning that Powerball is 1 in a billion, so that's no way that ChatGPT can predict that number. But yeah, it's just a sheer luck. But she said, Powerball said it, I got it, and I won it. Yeah. And that was a big, like, she won like 300 million or something. Alright, so any other questions?
सर एक क्वेश्चन सर, ये जो ऑनलाइन बिजनेसेस हैं आजकल जो चल रहे हैं ई कॉमर्स वगैरह, तो एआई जो है ये उनके लिए थ्रेट है या एज एन अपॉर्चुनिटी है आगे फ्यूचर में?
AI is not a threat for business. So there are 2 things, right? CapEx and OpEx. Right? Operation cost is what AI will reduce. And we'll talk about this. So the companies right now are, and I'm talking about IT big giants, are leveraging heavily on AI. Companies used to hire 200, 300, 400, 1,000, 2,000, depending upon the size of the company, fresh grads from the university saying, okay, you guys are going to do the grunt work, the basic work. Fresh graduates, fresh developers की ज़ुबान में बात करूँ, how to make a pipeline, job pipeline बनाओ, project बनाओ, pace work करो, all these kind of things, right? Those developers number varied based on the size of the organization that hired. बड़ी organization 1000-2000 बंदा उठाती थी इंडिया के हर जगह पे। क्या हुआ AI के बाद? That number has been cut 80%. Even our company hired 20% last year only. जहाँ पे we were hiring 1,000, we hired only like 200. Same goes for these e-commerce established business. They need these people to support their systems, right? They need these developers. They need the DBAs, the networks, these people, everybody to support their systems. With the innovation of AI, it's just not the AI that we are talking about for the cameras and the stuff. there is a thing called Gen AI app, which is called General AI Operations. What that thing is doing, it is taking work from the network, from the DBA, from the Windows guy, from the Unix guy, all these guys, and it is AI is taking over that thing. What that thing is doing, one of the biggest corporate tool that is being used is called Dynatrace. Dynatrace is a corporate tool that basically is installed, agent-based tool है, हर से server पे लग जाता है, and it basically start capturing the transaction. ठीक है, क्या हो रहा है, उसको कहते हैं कि वो user experience को capture करता है. So what user experience is? I am a user. I am going on www.amazon.com, and I am basically going through the flow until I buy something. Right? That flow is called experience. So I came in, and my transaction was less than a minute. You came in, and your transaction was over 5 minutes. So now Dynatrace is saying, hey, something is wrong, because when Samid came in, it was less than a minute. When Naveed came in, it was less than a minute. But what's his name? Alanur. But when Alanur came in, it was over 5 minutes. So this is frustrating experience for him. So now it is basically, there are people sitting there and they are looking at this thing, and there are alerts going on, and somebody is trying to see what is going on. That's where developers are coming in to see what happened here. What that tool has done, they have released a newer version. The name of that thing is called Holy Grail. Or what that Holy Grail is doing, it is the AI now that is coming into picture. It is looking at the previous data. It is basically seeing, okay, what happened here? How was this thing fixed? I am seeing the same pattern here. I am going to implement the same solution here and see if this thing is working. If that thing is not fixed, I am going to the next level, which is today human. Tomorrow it will change to an AI as well, right? So Gen AI Ops is coming into the picture. Same goes for the network. The network is having a great experience. Now it is having frustrating experience. Database is the same thing as well. You are basically you are implementing agents into the database now to do these mundane tasks. Hey, backup is failing. How am I going to fix the backup? Oh, these are the 5 playbooks that I have. I need to do this. I will run through this playbook and see if I resolve the issue. If I don't, I will escalate it to the next level. Today that next level is a human sitting somewhere supporting that environment. Tomorrow it might be AI, because now AI knows, okay, I went through this thing not happened, now I am going to the next playbook. Right? So that's how the landscape AI is changing. It's just not the development, it's across the board that this thing is happening.
Can you go please to that services slide? Application, yes. So for example, in SaaS projects, if we have to build one in either of these categories.
Oh, that's a way to go.
So how is this integration with ChatGPTs or Claudes take place in SaaS projects? For example, I have a subscription with them. And my those who have registered with us are using some bit of those tokens they are out of something. So how is this all integrated? I mean, how should we charge our subscriptions, and how should we pay it back to ChatGPT so that we have our own share as well?
Yeah.
So how does that go? I mean, in applications.
So one of the system that what you do is you look at the cost, a standard cost that happens, right? Because you have all these vendors now that you have to pay. Think about a SaaS solution running on a cloud. Who knows about what is SaaS is?
Software as a service. Software as a service.
So what about a PaaS?
Yes. Platform as a service.
He's very good in these PIAs, Pakistan International Airlines.
Okay, yeah, so SaaS, software as a service. When you talk about cloud, right? Cloud has, what is cloud? So when we talk about cloud, it's go back to the history of computer science when you started learning about it in the college. The first thing you learned about was there was a mainframe, right? Then comes the era of the personal computers, PCs. Then we changed into laptops. What was the mainframe? Mainframe was a big computer where everybody was storing their data and pulling that data down. We come to personal computers, now we have these laptops, we are storing everything in-house. Now we have a cloud, right? What is cloud? You have a centralized location where everybody is doing everything. So if you think about it, you went from maybe mainframe to because mainframe was one location, everybody was using that location. Cloud is one location, everybody is using that location. Then what is the difference? The difference is the hardware that is used. You are using these GPUs, you are using memory optimized processors, you are using storage optimized machines. You have more complex hardware that is being created which is specific to do something specific. What you are doing? When you go to Azure, when you go to Microsoft, you have their Azure cloud. You go to Amazon, they have got their AWS cloud. What they give you? They carve out a chunk of network and they give it to you. They say, this is what it is. Network kya hai? Think about it as an empty room. You have this office here, but somebody else owns the building. Right? So they gave you an office. You can do whatever you want in that office, however you want in that office. But you cannot do anything in this building now. That's what the cloud is. So they carve out a network and they give it to you. Now what you do with it is up to you. You basically build an image, a VM, virtual machine. Virtual machine क्या है? Image ही है ना? Laptop is an image, right? It has got an OS image running on the machines. You can do the same thing in the cloud as well. You can build a server over there, which will be a virtual machine running some sort of Windows or a Mac or a Linux or Unix, whatever you want to run. And then you can put your application over there, and it is called infrastructure as a service because you have a virtual machine running over there. Right? You don't want to do that. You want to basically use a software as a service. So you can basically have a service running for anything specific. You can have an Oracle service running, a database service running, which is, you're not supporting it. It's a database service, but if you connect to it, it's like an Oracle database, or a SQL Server database, or a MySQL, or a MongoDB, depends upon, or a DynaDB, whatever you basically are working. And then you can do the platform as a service as well. So SaaS-wise, that's what SaaS is. How can you do that? So when you talk about SaaS and all these things, right? You have multiple vendors that you are dealing with. Everybody is doing the same thing right now. What they are doing, they are basically going to a vendor, creating something, and publishing something out. They are basically making sure that all those vendors' subscriptions are accounted, and then they add on top of it what they are going to charge. How they cut it is the key over here. That's why NA10. You have used it?
No, I've seen it.
I would recommend you to look into that. Their model is what helped some of the other people that I know working in this ecosystem. They basically learned from that model for their subscription plans. I'll give you those documents. I have something. Right. But overall, what you do is you basically look at what you are doing, add them, and then put on top of what you are doing. It's right now. This is the most common model that is being used. There is no open source right now, right? ChatGPT has started charging people. Facebook, I'm not sure. What is it called? Llama, right? It's Llama, right? So I'm not sure if they are charging or but I won't be surprised if they are not charging. But I'll send you that information. Anything else?
Technically, for example, I have 100 customers. I launch a SaaS product, right?
Right.
So should I wait for the expenses incurred by those 100 people, and then they will bill us, or I will have to guess? They will have to
You
guess.
need to guess. Ballpark. You need to ballpark and then go with that. Because that's what will help you keep the price standardized. Otherwise, if you wait, somebody can use more, right? That's where I was telling this thing to Naveed, I believe, yesterday. That today ChatGPT is charging people $20 a month. It's cheap, it's dirt cheap. They are losing money in this thing. Why? Because people are searching what was the weather in Dubai 10 years ago. This question should not be asked from ChatGPT because you are trying to replace Google with ChatGPT. Both are different tools. ChatGPT is there for complex things that you cannot research on. You are basically replacing your search engine with an AI. Now think about it. These models are using GPUs and TPUs to calculate all these things. There are over 8 billion people in the world. More than half are using these chat GPTs right now. Right? So what it is doing to the cost? What is it doing to the, because those GPUs will also get heated up, right? How much heat they are basically generating by just running these standard searches. So you need to know what you are going through, because it's not a replacement to the search engine. It's more than that. So complexity is what you should be looking at. Narrow AI, we are calling Google search a narrow AI, but we are not saying that it's an AI. We just changed the term here. We are saying that the first wave that we were working with, be it a Google search, be it Alexa, be it a Siri, that was a narrow AI. We just categorized it. It's not that it was an AI, it was not. Google came back in 2001, right? There was no AI concept then.
मुझे याद है उस ज़माने में नया नया जब आया गूगल उसको गूगली कहते हैं।
गूगली कहते थे। ये मुझे खुद भी याद है, हम इसको कहते थे गूगली। It was Google. So
जिस तरह सामने भाई कहते हैं वो प्लीज़ के बारे में आप लोगों ने सुना होगा ना कि प्लीज़ ना चैट में ना लिखा करें, चैट जीपीटी के लिए स्टेटमेंट का बड़ा अच्छा होता है, डायरेक्टली उनको क्या करें बस।
yes you're right. आप thank you please नहीं कहना उसको।
When the cousin मुझे कह रहा था कि मान पड़े फोन रखी चेक के चीज़ सारा मुझे कम क्वेश्चन को मुझे very good question। It's a regular thing।
It's a common mistake.
So it's not a replacement to Google. So basically you need to know what you are searching for and why would you need it. The second thing is like, think about it. If you start using an AI to do all your searches, you are impacting your own critical thinking. आज से 2 साल पहले, because see, as a human, we need to know how to keep our senses intact as well. So, more complex it is, more your brain will work to come up with that. Use them for doing something mundane, day-to-day act. Sure. Writing an email? Sure. Writing some documentation? Sure. Japanese में कुछ लिखना है? Sure. You won't learn Japanese, you will just use AI to build a Japanese document. Right? Lekin if you are doing basically how much is 37 into 4, then I would say that you should basically use a pen and a pencil to do that. And I have seen people doing it. My 9-year-old daughter did that thing and I was like, no, that's not the way to go. So use a pen and a paper, right? So yeah, alright, anything else? Let's go to the next one. Okay, Alright. So we just talk about introduction of AI, what AI is, what models are there. There is NLP, there is computer vision, there is machine learning, there is deep learning. That's how it does this. Machine learning, deep learning is the environment. This is the places where you build the models. Those models are not using direct language. Those are using basically mathematical functions to basically come up with that thing. And how a developer interact with that thing? Those are primarily using the core languages. One of them is Python. That's the details about it. Where as a consumer comes into the picture, where the consumer market comes into the picture is in the NLP and the computer vision. So that's where we are today. The 3 types of AI we talked about was narrow AI, Gen AI, and the super intelligence. Gen AI is where we are. Gen AI started with the images and the videos modification and editing, right? And now it has changed into the next